Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, Episode 1 begins with Yuji Itadori running across buildings while being chased by a massive cursed spirit. As Yuji tries to escape, the curse suddenly grabs him. Before it can kill him, the curse is struck down by another sorcerer and its body collapses onto Yuji. The one who killed the curse is Yuta Okotsu. However, it is immediately revealed that Yuta is not there to save Yuji. He has been assigned to execute him. The story then shifts back to the Zenin clan. Naoya Zenin is shown mocking his own mother and openly insulting women, comparing them to Maki Zenin. He meets Junichi Zenin and Ogi Zenin, who scold him for arriving late while his father is on his deathbed. Naoya shows no concern and confidently declares that he will become the next head of the Zenin clan. Soon after, they receive the news that Naobito Zenin has died. His will states that Naoya will inherit the clan and its assets, including the cursed tools stored at Jujutsu High. However, if Satoru Gojo dies or becomes permanently unable to fight, Megumi Fushiguro will become the head instead. This condition deeply angers Naoya. Learning that Megumi is currently in Tokyo searching for Yuji Itadori, Naoya decides to kill both of them so that the inheritance will remain his. Back in Tokyo, Yuji is seen resting alone when Choso approaches him and asks about his injuries. Yuji says he is recovering, possibly due to Sukuna, and can feel his power increasing. Choso suggests returning to Jujutsu High, but Yuji refuses, blaming himself for Sukuna's actions and the deaths of innocent people. He also apologizes for killing Choso's brothers. Choso tells him that they would have forgiven him because they are brothers, and that family is what truly matters. Yuji then runs through the city, deliberately attracting cursed spirits towards himself. He defeats several of them with ease and leads the rest into an underground bridge where Choso is waiting. Using piercing blood, Choso destroys the curses in a single attack. When one curse tries to ambush Choso, Yuji instantly kills it. Choso realizes that Yuji has learned to control his cursed energy and has become far stronger than before. Before Choso can speak further, Naoya Zenin appears and asks about Megumi Fushiguro's location. Yuji questions why they should run, and Naoya reveals that Yuji has been sentenced to death now that Satoru Gojo is gone. Naoya attacks without hesitation, easily overpowering both Yuji and Choso with his speed. Choso realizes Naoya must be using a special technique, while Naoya wonders about Choso's identity. Suddenly, a massive surge of cursed energy fills the area. Yuji briefly thinks it might be Satoru Gojo, but instead, Yuta Okotsu appears, landing with enough force to shatter the ground. Naoya recognizes Yuta as the sorcerer assigned to kill Yuji and steps aside. Choso urges Yuji to escape, warning him that fighting Yuta would mean certain death. Yuji runs, but Yuta quickly catches up to him. Meanwhile, Choso fights Naoya, who mocks blood manipulation and claims that only piercing blood is truly dangerous. Choso vows that Naoya will not leave alive after attacking his brother. Yuta finally reaches Yuji, revealing that the opening scene was not Yuji running from a curse, but from Yuta himself. A fight breaks out, and Yuji is completely overwhelmed. Despite his gentle appearance, Yuta possesses an immense amount of cursed energy, far more than Yuji. Yuji tries to fight back using a knife, applying what Gojo once taught him, but Yuta easily breaks through his defense. Yuji destroys Yuta's katana with a powerful kick and continues attacking, refusing to give up. Suddenly, Yuji is restrained by Rika, who appears behind him and locks him in place. Unable to move, Yuji watches Rika as Yuta approaches, holding his broken blade. Apologizing to Yuji Itadori, Yuta stabs him through the chest. Yuji collapses as Sukuna briefly manifests inside him, but the scene quickly shifts to another battlefield, where Naoya Zenin is fighting Choso. Naoya uses his overwhelming speed to dominate the fight, moving so fast that Choso can barely react. Every attack lands cleanly, and Naoya keeps mocking Choso, calling him slow and stubborn. Despite taking heavy damage, Choso refuses to fall. He reminds Naoya that he is the eldest brother of 10 siblings, and that pride alone keeps him standing. Choso activates flowing red scale, enhancing his physical abilities and sharpening his perception. For the first time, he can properly track Naoya's movements. Naoya increases his speed again and stabs Choso in the stomach with a knife,
causing massive blood loss. He confidently claims that Choso cannot stop the bleeding, and that using weapons makes things easier and cleaner. Naoya openly admits his hatred toward his older brothers, saying that older brothers who are weaker than their younger siblings deserve to die. Choso responds calmly, explaining the role of an older brother. He says an older brother exists to guide, protect, and become a model for the younger ones. He suggests that Naoya is practiced precisely because his own older brothers were weak, forcing him to surpass them. As the fight continues, Naoya realizes that Choso is not dying despite the blood loss. Choso reveals the truth about his body. As a death-painting womb, a hybrid of cursed spirit and human, he does not die from blood loss as long as cursed energy remains. Choso spreads his blood across the ground, causing Naoya's feet to stick like glue. Taking advantage of this opening, Choso fires piercing blood directly at Naoya. Naoya attempts to activate his projection sorcery technique, which allows him to move at 24 frames per second. However, Choso counters with supernova, a technique refined over more than a century, detonating compressed blood from multiple directions. Naoya manages to block some of the attacks, but is suddenly struck from behind by Yuta Okotsu, who appears out of nowhere and knocks him unconscious. Yuta explains that Choso's blood is poisonous to humans, making Naoya's condition even worse. He heals Naoya using reverse curse technique and tells him to report to the higher-ups that Yuji Itadori has been executed. Meanwhile, Yuji experiences a strange vision from his childhood. He sees his father, Jin Itadori, and his grandfather, Wasuke. His grandfather warns Jin to stay away from a certain woman or risk death. The memory fades as Yuji regains consciousness. Yuji wakes up to find Yuta sitting beside him. Yuta casually confirms that Yuji is alive. He explains that months earlier, Gojo Satoru asked Yuta to secretly watch over Yuji. Yuta pretended to execute Yuji to satisfy the higher-ups, then immediately revived him using reverse curse technique after stopping his heart. The execution vow remains valid, meaning the higher-ups believe Yuji is dead. Megumi Fushiguro arrives and suggests hiding Yuji within Jujutsu High. Yuji refuses, blaming himself for the deaths during the Shibuya Incident. Megumi argues that sorcerers are not heroes, but their existence still matters. He then reveals the true crisis. Kenjaku has initiated the culling game, a deadly ritual forcing sorcerers across Japan to kill each other. Megumi's sister, Tsumiki Fushiguro, has been unwillingly registered as a participant. The rules of the culling game are explained. All players must enter within 19 days. Failure to participate results in the removal of cursed techniques, leading to death. Players gain points by killing others, and those points can be used to add new rules. Yuji warns Yuta about Sukuna, explaining that 15 fingers have already been consumed. He asks Yuta to kill him immediately if Sukuna ever takes control. Yuta agrees without hesitation. Megumi says their next step is to meet Master Tengen. They need information on how to release Gojo Satoru from the prison realm and how to stop the culling game. Yuji asks about Nobara Kugisaki, but Megumi stays silent, confirming her fate without words. Choso then joins the group, offering to guide them through Tengen's barriers using his connection to previous intruders. The group arrives at Jujutsu High, where they meet Yuki Tsukumo. They enter the Star Corridor, passing through multiple barriers, until they reach a vast, silent chamber. A strange presence fills the space, as Master Tengen finally appears before them.
Tengen greets everyone present, but noticeably does not greet Yuki Tsukumo. Yuki immediately questions this, pointing out that he greeted everyone except her. Tengen calmly responds that this is not their first meeting, hinting at a deeper history between them. Yuki then directly asks Tengen why he sealed the tomb barriers earlier. Tengen admits that he suspected Yuki might be working alongside Kenjaku. When Yuki asks who Kenjaku is, Tengen explains that Kenjaku is the same sorcerer once known as Noritoshi Kamo and that he is currently controlling Suguru Geto's body. At this point, Yuji asks the question that's been bothering him. Why does Tengen look so inhuman? Tengen laughs and tells Yuji that if he lives long enough, he might end up looking the same. Even though Tengen is immortal, his aging never stopped. He then reveals a critical detail. 12 years ago, he failed to merge with a star plasma vessel. Because of that failure, his evolution accelerated beyond control. Yuki asks why another star plasma vessel wasn't chosen afterward, but Megumi interrupts, bringing the conversation back to the real reason they came. He asks two direct questions. What exactly is Kenjaku planning, and how can the prison realm be opened? Tengen agrees to explain everything, but first sets a condition. He tells Yuta, Yuki, and Choso that at least two of them must stay behind to protect him. Everyone is shocked by this request, as they assumed Tengen was completely safe due to his immortality. Yuki agrees and asks how long the protection will be required. With that settled, Tengen finally explains Kenjaku's true objective. Kenjaku's goal is to force the evolution of humanity across all of Japan. Megumi points out that Kenjaku could have turned everyone into sorcerers using barrier techniques, so why did he rely on idle transfiguration instead? Tengen explains that such a massive evolution requires an enormous amount of cursed energy, far more than Kenjaku currently possesses. Tengen reveals the horrifying truth. Kenjaku plans to merge humanity with Tengen himself. Yuji questions whether this is even possible, since Tengen was only supposed to merge with star plasma vessels. Tengen explains that this limitation no longer applies. Because he failed to merge 12 years ago, his form has evolved so far that he can now merge with anyone. Choso asks how a single being can merge with countless humans. Tengen answers that he has evolved to the point where his existence spreads throughout the world and his soul exists everywhere. Any human who merges with him would become something far beyond a sorcerer, an entirely new kind of being. Tengen also explains that he maintains his current form through barrier techniques, keeping himself under control. But if a merged human were to lose control, it could spell the end of the world. Tokyo would only be the beginning. Yuji asks the most important question, why does Tengen even want this? But Tengen admits that even he doesn't know Kenjaku's true motivation. Maki then asks Tengen why Tengen simply refuses to merge. Tengen explains the real danger. He has evolved so much that he is now closer to a cursed spirit than a human. This makes him vulnerable to cursed spirit manipulation. Everyone immediately understands why Kenjaku chose Geito's body, because Geito's technique is exactly that. Tengen knows that if Kenjaku confronts him directly, he will be sealed instantly. This is why the tomb rejected outsiders earlier, and why Tengen now needs protection. Tengen also reveals that aside from himself, Kenjaku is the most skilled barrier technique user alive, and could destabilize the tomb at any time. But he hasn't yet because he still lacks enough cursed energy. The episode then dives into Kenjaku's past. Long ago, Kenjaku was defeated twice by Six Eyes users. Realizing he could never win directly, he began killing star plasma vessels and Six Eyes users shortly after their birth. However, every time Tengen's merger date arrived, a new Six Eyes user and a new vessel would appear. Kenjaku eventually changed strategies. Before he could obtain the prison realm, one unexpected person disrupted everything: Toji Zenin. Toji assassinated the star plasma vessel, halting Tengen's merger and triggering Tengen's evolution. Later, a sorcerer with cursed spirit manipulation was born, Geito, and everything Kenjaku needed slowly fell into place. 6 years later, Kenjaku finally obtained the prison realm. Returning to the present, Megumi asks why the culling game exists at all. Tengen explains that the culling game's purpose is to gather cursed energy. As sorcerers fight and kill within the colonies, massive amounts of cursed energy are released, which Kenjaku will use for the merger. Tengen also clarifies something terrifying. Kenjaku is not the game master. Even if Kenjaku dies, the culling game will continue until all players are dead, either by killing each other or refusing to participate, which also leads to death. Yuji realizes what this means. They must participate in the culling game and accumulate points to add a rule that allows unwilling participants, including Megumi's sister, to escape. Megumi adds that freeing Gojo was essential because Gojo alone could end everything. Yuji asks Tengen to decide who will stay behind. Yuki and Choso volunteer to guard Tengen. Tengen then reveals the back gate of the prison realm. However, he explains that it cannot be used without the front gate. There are other methods, the inverted spear of heaven and black rope, but both were destroyed by Gojo years ago. Just as hope seems lost, Tengen reveals another option. Among the culling game players is a 1,000-year-old sorcerer known as Angel, who may be able to open the prison realm. Tengen believes Angel is somewhere in eastern Tokyo. The episode then explains the current situation across Japan. 10 colonies have already formed, sealed by barriers. Civilians and sorcerers are trapped across different sides, with many ordinary people caught inside dangerous zones. Tengen then explains the rules of the culling game. Any awakened player must participate within 19 days. If they fail, their curse technique is removed, resulting in death. Entering a colony automatically registers someone as a player. Killing increases points, 5 for sorcerers and 1 for non-sorcerers. Players can add new rules only after reaching 100 points, and any new rule cannot contradict existing ones. Finally, if a player's points remain unchanged for 19 days, they are executed. Yuji realizes what this means. He will have to kill to survive. Everyone then decides their roles. Choso and Yuki stay behind. Maki decides to go to the Zenin clan to gather curse tools. Yuta chooses to enter the culling game to gather information, but suggests everyone enter different colonies to avoid killing each other. This creates a new fear. If Yuji turns into Sukuna while separated, no one will be there to stop him. Megumi notices their concern and reassures them. Before leaving, Maki tells Yuji and Megumi to recruit Hakari, a suspended third-year student. When Yuji asks how strong he is, Yuta replies that Hakari is even stronger than he is. As they leave, Yuji thanks Choso. Choso tells Yuji not to die and breaks down in tears. The episode ends with a sudden shift to a struggling comedian named Takaba performing to a nearly empty crowd. His boss insults him and fires him for being unfunny. Another man approaches Takaba and says that there are only 2 kinds of comedians, those who are funny and those who believe they are funny. He asks Takaba which one he is.
Maki Zenin arriving at the Zenin household. Almost immediately, she runs into Naoya Zenin. He treats her with open contempt, mocking her appearance and belittling her worth. Naoya verbally abuses her, but Maki ignores him completely and continues walking toward the armory. She technically should not be allowed inside. However, Megumi Fushiguro, now acting as the clan leader, granted her permission. As Maki walks, she remembers how she convinced Megumi to take the role. He initially refused, but Maki explained that becoming clan head would give them access to vital intel and clan assets. Eventually, Megumi agreed, even saying that Maki would be far more suited for leadership than he was. Maki, however, knew the truth. She would never receive the clan's support. More than that, she still couldn't create a place where her sister Mai truly belonged. When Maki enters the armory, something feels wrong. Before the scene reveals what she sees, the story flashes back to a conversation between Jinichi Zenin and Naoya Zenin. Jinichi makes it clear that he does not want Megumi Fushiguro as the clan leader. To stop this, he devises a brutal plan. They will kill Megumi, Maki, and Mai. By executing all 3, they can frame it as punishment for rebellion, making the plan more convincing to the higher-ups. Back in the present, the truth is revealed. Mai is lying collapsed on the floor of the armory, badly wounded. Standing before her is their father, Ogi Zenin, who intends to kill both of his daughters. Maki tries to fight back. During the struggle, she breaks Ogi's sword and rushes in, believing she has gained the upper hand. Instead, Ogi calmly slashes her twice, proving that breaking his blade does not stop his technique. As he drags Maki and Mai away, Ogi explains that his strength lies not in swordsmanship, but in being a sorcerer. He blames both girls for his failure to become clan head and declares them his greatest shame. He throws them into an empty training room filled with cursed spirits. It is a place he uses for punishment. Once he leaves, the curses will devour them. Barely conscious, Mai gathers what little strength she has left and gently cups Maki's face. She activates her curse technique. Suddenly, Maki finds herself standing on a beach beside Mai. Mai explains the truth about twins in the Jujutsu world. Twins are treated as a single being. Because of this, neither of them can ever be complete. As long as they both exist, they will always be half-baked. Maki doesn't understand and desperately begs Mai to come back as her sister slowly walks toward the ocean. Mai tells her she will leave her one final gift. In exchange, she asks for just one thing, that Maki destroys everything. Mai cries and briefly appears as her younger self before saying her final goodbye. Maki awakens back in the armory. A newly created sword rests in her hand. Mai is dead beside her. Cursed spirits approach, but they no longer matter. With Mai's death, Maki's heavenly restriction has reached its full potential. She has no cursed energy left, only overwhelming physical power. She remembers her promise. Ogi Zenin senses something terrifying, a presence he once feared. Toji Zenin. He calls Maki a failure and prepares to fight her, but he doesn't even finish speaking. Maki strikes once, slicing his head open, and walks out of the armory without looking back. An alarm sounds throughout the Zenin estate. The Kukuru unit is deployed to stop her. They are elite fighters trained in pure physical combat, and Maki was once part of their ranks. Their leader, Nobuaki, underestimates her, failing to recognize the danger. When the soldiers engage Maki, the screen shifts to black and white. What follows is a brutal slaughter, echoing the famous Crazy 88 scene from Kill Bill. One by one, Maki cuts them down, leaving the room drenched in blood. Nobuaki opens the door and freezes in shock, unable to comprehend what he's seeing. Suddenly, massive stone hands slam into Maki. This is Chojudo's curse technique, a member of the Hei unit, the Zenin clan's strongest sorcerers. Maki escapes unharmed. She kills both Nobuaki and Chojudo. Another Hei member attempts to restrain her, while Junichi Zenin rains down a barrage of attacks. Still, Maki survives effortlessly and kills them all. The only one left is Naoya Zenin. Naoya still underestimates her, remembering how terrifying Toji once was and convincing himself that Maki is only an imitation. He attacks at incredible speed, overwhelming her at first. If he keeps moving, his speed will only increase, just as it did in his fight with Choso. Maki waits. When she gets her chance, she blocks his path, forcing him into a straight line. Naoya charges forward, confident she cannot stop him, but Maki has already understood his technique. As he closes in, she strikes, smashing his head and pulverizing part of his skull. Afterward, Maki searches for her mother and asks her why she once told her to come back. She receives no answer. She slashes her and leaves. Naoya later staggers back to the house, believing he survived. Behind him stands Maki's mother, bleeding, smiling. In her final moments, she collapses onto Naoya, killing him, and says she is glad she gave birth to her daughters. Momo Nishimuya arrives at the Zenin estate as Maki walks, carrying Mai's body on her shoulders. Momo breaks down in tears and asks Maki what she plans to do next. The episode ends there.
Episode 5 begins by focusing on Masamichi Yaga, the principal of Tokyo Jujutsu High, and the true nature of Panda. We see Yaga being questioned by the higher-ups about Panda's existence. They explain that Panda is not an ordinary cursed puppet. Unlike normal puppets that simply follow commands, Panda acts independently, consumes cursed energy on his own, and possesses a core that cannot be removed. This makes Panda a completely self-sustaining cursed corpse. Because of this discovery, the higher-ups label Yaga as a special-grade threat. They accuse him of having the ability to create an army of autonomous cursed corpses and place him under arrest. Yaga is imprisoned, where Gakuganji confronts him and repeatedly asks if he truly knows the secret behind creating beings like Panda.
Yaga refuses to answer. The episode then cuts to Yaga inside the forest of cursed puppets he once created. A yellow puppet named Takeru speaks with him, worried about Yaga's condition. Yaga gently reassures him and apologizes, saying he may not return for a long time. He tells Takeru that Master Tengen will protect the forest and that everything will be fine even without him. Meanwhile, Panda is captured and tied up. Atsuya Kusakabe secretly cuts Panda free and tells him the truth. Panda was bait used to force Yaga out. Kusakabe tells Panda to escape and not tell anyone. The scene shifts again to Yaga being escorted outside. Kusakabe appears with his sister, who is confined to a wheelchair. Takeru is revealed to be a cursed corpse, created using the soul information of Kusakabe's deceased nephew. When Kusakabe's sister sees Takeru, she emotionally recognizes him as her child. Yaga apologizes for using the boy's soul, but Kusakabe accepts it, understanding that without Takeru, his sister could not survive. However, Yaga explains that cursed corpses like Takeru cannot leave the forest or exist in society. As Yaga continues walking, Gakuganji confronts him on an empty street. Gakuganji declares that Yaga has only one way to escape: death, and demands the secret of creating cursed corpses. Yaga prepares to fight, knowing Gojo is gone and no one can protect him. The battle is skipped, and the aftermath is shown. Yaga lies mortally wounded on the ground. Gakuganji stands over him. With his final strength, Yaga reveals the truth. To create a self-sustaining cursed corpse, 3 compatible souls must be placed inside a single core, constantly observing each other. Only then does cursed energy naturally form, a process that takes 3 months. When Gakuganji asks why Yaga is telling him this now, Yaga answers that this knowledge is not a gift, it is a curse. Yaga dies. Panda arrives moments later. Gakuganji prepares to fight him, but Panda ignores him completely. Panda kneels beside Yaga's body and speaks calmly, saying he doesn't understand hatred or revenge. He says Gakuganji was nothing more than a knife used by someone else. Then Panda says one final thing: pandas can cry too, and he breaks down in tears. The opening theme plays. After this emotional turning point, the episode shifts to Yuji Itadori and Megumi Fushiguro. They recall Master Tengen's instructions about Kinji Hakari, a suspended third-year student running an underground fight club. Hakari organizes illegal battles between curse users while civilians gamble and watch, which directly violates Jujutsu laws. Megumi explains that Hakari hates the higher-ups and will avoid anyone connected to Jujutsu High. Yuji and Megumi arrive at a multi-story parking structure where the fights are held. Guards stop them and threaten to beat them if they don't leave. Megumi claims they need money and want to join the fights. When questioned about who told them about the club, Megumi lies and says the person is already dead, earning them a spot. However, the guards decide that Yuji will be the one fighting. Yuji accepts without hesitation. Yuji is briefed on the rules: no running away from the crowd's view, and no visible curse techniques, since civilians can't see curses. Yuji understands that to meet Hakari, he needs to put on a convincing show. The fighters enter the arena, and Yuji's opponent is revealed to be Panda. The fight begins in front of cheering civilians and live cameras. Yuji and Panda secretly coordinate, pretending to fight while barely touching each other. Panda exaggerates every hit, flying across the arena to excite the audience. Yuji is declared the winner. Watching from above, Hakari finally takes interest. He orders his men to bring Yuji to him and tells them to keep an eye on the other boy, Megumi. Hakari sends Kirara Hoshi, his partner and a third-year student, to intercept Megumi. Later, Panda meets Megumi and explains why he couldn't reach Hakari. Panda says he often felt his approach to the control room was met with resistance, similar to Gojo's Infinity. He suspects Kirara's cursed technique is responsible. Megumi memorizes the layout of guards and cameras, and decides they'll need Yuji's help to bypass Kirara's ability. Finally, Kirara escorts Yuji to the control room. Inside, Kinji Hakari greets Yuji and begins talking about money, gambling, and ambition. He explains his philosophy that life itself is a gamble driven by passion, which he calls heat. He believes people only move forward through risk, obsession, and desire to win. He declares his goal: to control the nation's heat through his fight clubs, upturn jujutsu regulations, and reshape the system while the higher-ups are weakened. The episode ends with Yuji listening silently as Hakari reveals his true ambitions.
The episode opens in a parking area near the underground tournament facility. Megumi Fushiguro silently moves through the area, taking down Hakari's guards one by one without drawing attention. He knocks them out efficiently, clearing the path toward the building. At the same time, Panda is already inside, working his way upward in securing the upper floors. After clearing the lower levels, Panda proceeds through the emergency staircase toward the rooftop. Once both Panda and Megumi reach the rooftop, they come face to face with Kirara Hoshi. Kirara immediately notices that Panda has brought someone with him. When Kirara sees Megumi, he instantly recognizes him as the sorcerer who came with Yuji earlier. Kirara quickly realizes that Hakari might be in danger. He takes out his phone and attempts to call Hakari to warn him about the intruders. Before he can finish, Megumi summons Divine Dog and sends it towards Kirara. However, the moment Divine Dog tries to touch him, it is violently repelled and pulled back in the opposite direction, crashing into Megumi instead. Both Megumi and Panda are shocked, unable to understand what just happened. Taking advantage of the confusion, Kirara runs toward the monitor room. Panda chases after him, but no matter how hard he tries, he cannot get any closer. It feels as if he is running on a treadmill, unable to close the distance. Panda shouts that they are not enemies and that they only want to talk to Hakari, but Kirara refuses to believe him. Megumi sends Divine Dog again, positioning it in front of the monitor room door. This time, something even stranger happens. Instead of the dog moving freely, Megumi himself is suddenly pulled toward Divine Dog, as if an invisible force is linking them. Megumi realizes that he cannot approach Kirara and cannot separate himself from his Shikigami either. Megumi tries once more to reason with Kirara. He explains that they are not acting on behalf of Jujutsu High. He asks if Kirara has seen the news about Tokyo. The barriers appearing across the city are not accidents, but part of a planned Jujutsu terrorist attack, unlike anything seen before. Because of this, they need Hakari's help. Kirara responds angrily, saying that Jujutsu High was the one that cast Hakari aside, and now they are only reaching out because they are desperate. Megumi admits that he doesn't know the full details of what happened between Hakari and the higher-ups, but he insists that it no longer matters. Through this conversation, it is revealed why Hakari left Jujutsu High. His curse technique is highly unconventional and unpredictable, relying heavily on risk and luck. The conservative higher-ups feared techniques they could not control, and because Hakari's power did not fit their rigid ideology, he was expelled. Kirara then questions why they would need Hakari's help when they have Satoru Gojo. Megumi answers directly. Gojo has been sealed. Because of that, they have already lost. Kirara reacts with disbelief. The idea that Gojo Satoru could be sealed is impossible to accept, and Megumi realizes that no ordinary sorcerer would believe such a claim. With no other option left, Megumi prepares to fight. He summons Rabbit Escape, flooding the area with Shikigami. As the fight continues, Megumi carefully observes how Kirara's curse technique works. He notices star-like markings and how certain people or objects are pushed away or pulled closer. Through observation and deduction, Megumi understands that Kirara's curse technique marks cursed energy and controls movement through attraction and repulsion. By analyzing the behavior of his Shikigami and the surrounding cursed energy, Megumi eventually figures out how the technique functions and successfully breaks through it. Defeated, Kirara asks Megumi if he is really a first-year student. Megumi steps forward, lowers his head, and begs him to listen. He says they are out of time and asks Kirara to let them speak with Hakari. Kirara finally agrees. Suddenly, a loud explosion shatters the monitor room door. Yuji Itadori bursts out. Megumi is shocked, but Yuji immediately tells Megumi and Panda to not interfere. Kinji Hakari steps out behind him and confronts Yuji directly. Hakari accuses Yuji of underestimating him and throws a powerful punch straight at Yuji's face. Yuji does not dodge. He takes the hit head-on, falls, and then stands back up. Hakari continues attacking, growing more irritated as Yuji refuses to dodge or fight back. Inside his mind, Yuji thinks that compared to the Shibuya Incident, this pain is nothing. All he needs to do is earn Hakari's trust, no matter how badly he is beaten. Hakari tells Yuji that as long as he can keep standing, he will listen. Kirara tries to explain that Yuji and the others are not from Jujutsu High and genuinely need Hakari's help. Hakari angrily responds that he is
already listening and continues beating Yuji mercilessly. Hakari eventually uses cursed energy in his punch, sending Yuji flying and leaving him motionless on the ground. Everyone believes Yuji is finished. Hakari tells Panda and Megumi to take Yuji and leave, never to return. At that moment, Yuji stands up again behind Hakari. Shocked, Hakari asks what Yuji is made of. Yuji repeats his answer. He says he is a cog. His role is simply to exercise curses. No matter how many times Hakari beats him down, he will keep standing until Hakari agrees to help. Yuji's determination finally reaches Hakari. He calms down and agrees to hear them out. He says he is willing to make a deal. Megumi is stunned that Hakari agreed so easily. Hirata explains that even though Hakari hates the higher-ups, he has never refused to help fellow sorcerers. Just then, Kogane appears and announces that a new rule has been added to the culling game. Rule number 9 allows players to see other players' names, points, number of rules added, and current colony. The rule required 100 points to add. The player who added the rule is revealed to be Hajime Kashima. It is shown that he has already accumulated 200 points by killing many sorcerers. Kashima states that he wants information about Sukuna, which is why he added the rule. With that revelation, the episode comes to an end.
The episode opens inside one of the culling game barriers, where Kenjaku stands beside a confused civilian who has just woken up. Kenjaku calmly explains that this location was deliberately chosen as the center of the barrier due to its history as an execution ground. The barrier spans approximately 5 to 6 kilometers in radius. He reveals that while he pushed his technique to its limits to create the barrier, he could not impose completely unreasonable conditions. As a result, civilians who were already inside when the barrier was activated are allowed to leave once. He offers the man the option of waking up outside the barrier if he wishes. Elsewhere, inside another colony, Sasaki and Iguchi from Yuji's former occult club regain consciousness and realize they are trapped inside the Sendai barrier. They recall seeing a mysterious long-haired man in robes in what felt like a shared dream, subtly reinforcing Kenjaku's manipulation. The scene shifts back to Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, Panda, and Kinji Hakari as they discuss entering the culling game. Panda informs Hakari that Satoru Gojo has been sealed and Principal Yaga has been executed. Hakari reacts with shock, but ultimately agrees to cooperate. However, he makes it clear that this is a deal. Once the culling game ends, he expects help reforming Jujutsu Society's regulations. Megumi reveals that he has become the head of the Zenin clan, which surprises Hakari, though narration immediately informs the audience that the Zenin clan was annihilated shortly after. Suddenly, Kogane announces a new rule has been added to the culling game. Rule 9 allows players to view information about other players, including their names, current points, the number of rules they have added, and which colony they are located in. This dramatically changes the strategy, as players can now specifically target high-point individuals instead of fighting blindly. The group realizes that someone has already accumulated 200 points, meaning they have likely killed at least 40 players. Megumi instructs Kogane to display players with 100 points or more. Two names stand out, Hajime Kashimo and Hiromi Higuruma. Megumi proposes a new plan. Instead of killing to accumulate points themselves, they will confront a player who already has over 100 points and persuade them to add beneficial rules. Their goal is to exploit Rule 8, which states that if a player's points do not change within 19 days, their cursed technique will be confiscated and they will die. They want to add a rule allowing players to transfer points to each other, preventing unnecessary deaths. After that, they hope to add another rule permitting players to spend points to withdraw from the culling game entirely. They acknowledge the system might reject a rule that directly undermines the game's purpose, so they consider possible conditions that could make it acceptable. In addition to this plan, they must also locate Angel, the sorcerer capable of unsealing the prison realm. The team splits. Hakari and Panda will enter Tokyo number 2 colony, while Yuji and Megumi will enter Tokyo number 1 colony. Kirara remains outside to maintain communication since phones do not function inside the barriers. The date is November 12th at noon, and they note that Samiki has only 7 days and 12 hours left before she is forced to participate in the game. Yuji and Megumi step into Tokyo number 1 barrier and are immediately recognized as official players. Upon entry, they are randomly teleported to separate locations within the colony, a barrier-specific condition not explicitly listed in the game's rules. Almost
Almost instantly, Yuji is attacked by two players lying in wait for newcomers. One uses a helicopter-like curse technique with spinning blades, while the other propels herself using rocket-like hair. They target Yuji aggressively, intending to kill him quickly and collect points. Yuji analyzes their techniques mid-fight, noticing that their power weakens at certain ranges. He counters their attacks, breaks through their offense, and defeats them with close-quarters combat. After the fight, a man named Rin Amai calls out to Yuji, recognizing him from middle school and referring to his old nickname. Amai explains that life inside the colony has become pure survival. Players either fight or are hunted. He indicates that powerful players tend to gather in resource-rich or strategically valuable areas of the city, such as heavily damaged districts. Meanwhile, Megumi encounters a woman named Remy, who appears frightened and injured. She attempts to manipulate Megumi into protecting her, asking him to become her knight. Megumi remains cautious and focused on gathering information. When he asks about Hiramuma, Remy confirms that Hiramuma has accumulated 100 points and is known within the colony. She provides vague directions toward areas where stronger players are likely concentrated. Megumi remains wary, aware that deception is common in this environment. As the episode closes, both Yuji and Megumi move deeper into Tokyo No. 1 colony, separated by distance but pursuing the same objective: to locate Hiramuma, secure access to his points, and implement new rules that could change the fate of everyone trapped in the culling game.